Hi everyone, welcome to the new series of the Temple of Babylon, where we're going to talk with the teachers that we have in our family about the different sessions that they are offering. Today we're going to talk with Eva Kaczor from Psychedelic Breath and Sascha Zeilinger from Spirit of Breath about breath work and all this takes. Hi guys.
Hi.
I'm really happy to start this series with you two, because obviously you're good friends of mine, very close to my heart. And now that we're both in Berlin, we can talk about the different sessions that I have enjoyed from both of you. For me, it's so special that both of you started sort of around the same time, but then created this whole new technique in terms of breath work. For the family members that have never heard or have done anything of breath work, what is breath work? Maybe Sascha, you can start with this explanation.
First of all, thanks for having me. Really nice to be here. And yeah, breath work, basically you start with a conscious breathing technique. It's basically once you start focusing on your breathing, that's basically when you do breath work, to keep it very simple.
Yeah. And Eva, anything that you would like to add to this?
Yeah, I think what Sascha pointed out is super important. We're talking breathing techniques. We're not talking unconscious breathing, autonomous breathing. We're talking a specific manipulation of your breath. And this is broad. It's a category.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also interesting because you have breathing. It's something that we carry with us, fortunately, our whole life. Actually, so breathing is something very normal to people. It goes so automatically so that it's not perceived as conscious. Is there anything that you could say, implement this in your day-to-day breathing technique? I know somebody said to me, you need to start breathing from your belly, and that was already a huge difference for me. Is there anything, Eva, maybe you can say?
Well, fact is that many people have dysfunctional breathing patterns. Yeah, it sounds harsh, but many people do over-breathing. So they breathe too shallow in the upper part of the lungs, not using the diaphragmatic area, which is your belly. This is our biggest breathing muscles. So they're more here, and then they start breathing through the mouth. And we know now, supported by science, that we need to breathe in through the nose. So if you've heard it, read that book from James Nestor, Breath, or read The Oxygen Advantage, two super important books right now combining science with how we should breathe. Breathe through the nose. If you can't do it, tape your mouth, seriously. That's what they recommend. Because we want nitric oxide. It's a super important molecule to be produced. It widens the blood vessels. And the older we get, blood vessels clog, right? And it leads to heart attack and strokes. So, super important to breathe through the nose. The belly is just amazing because you're working the breathing muscles and you tap into the vagus nerve to calm you down, to digest, to restore, and to sleep better. And these are also, I guess, huge issues for many people.
Yeah, so then we already actually come to the breathing technique, which is interesting. Sascha, anything you want to add to this day-to-day conscious breathing?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, like 99%, we're not aware of how we're breathing. When you think like you can live without food for a certain amount of days, you can without water about 10 days, but breathing, be my guest, if you can hold your breath for 5 minutes, then it's so it's essential. It's the first thing you do, and it's the last thing you do in your life. And it's and what you described in the beginning, it's so easy, you have it with you all the time, but 99% we're unconsciously. So and it's such a huge powerhouse you have with you all the time. So be much more aware of how you're breathing.
Yeah, no, that's super nice, and that's also so funny because the connection that you guys, both of you, have with music. I mean, from Sascha, you managed to find tracks that I'm just where the hell does this come from? It's always because you have such a strong build-up, and then in the time that it releases, there's always this song that comes up, and then I don't even know where my tears come from, but they're deep-rooted tears, and then I just sob it out. But I'm super curious, how much time do you spend on finding these tracks?
I mean, what I do is like, because through breathwork you have direct access to your autonomic nervous system, and then you have like these two pillars, sympathetic and parasympathetic, so activation, relaxation, and I'm trying to implement this also in my playlist. So the first part we're going to go into is activationally, and it's like, again, the conscious activation, it's the first part, and then we're going to go down the parasympathetic, so the relaxation, and so I'm trying to implement. And with the music, I just love music by myself. So it's like there's music all the time in my house, and for me, it's a kind of that I get really nerdy about it. That I really zoom into the music, and then suddenly when I look at the time, it's like 3-4 hours are gone. And my choice, like I use Spotify, and it's for me. I created my first playlist, and from then it just grows and grows and grows, and I also bring like kind of my personality into the playlist. So I have like 2-3 playlists what I want to use for the day. So when I prepare for myself for a session, for me it already starts in the morning when I wake up. Like already it's like something's changing, and then I'm like listening to the playlist again, and at the end it's like trying to kind of feel into the energy what's created, and that's then when I choose what kind of playlist I'm using. And
yeah, so it's not pre-coordinated. It's not like on timing wise, or you have your option to adapt to a certain situation.
It's not that I'm changing while during the session, because I know like colleagues, they're using like they're like while they're performing the breathwork session, they're changing the music. That's not what I'm doing, because I'm like want to be 100% there for the people to hold the space. So I have the playlist prepared. It's just that I'm choosing, because I have stronger playlists, I have softer playlists. So that's why I'm choosing before the session what I'm feeling into it, what I want to use for the session.
Nice, yeah, good. And Eva, you have been working like also what you just said with Acid Poly, but also Nico Stoyan, Joep Menke also came. So there's a lot of Babylon wildly adored artists that come and they create a soundtrack basically on your session. Is this all based on the timings that you said before that Acid Poly wrote down, or how does this work?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah.
I have 2 methods.
Yeah.
There's one like Acid Poly and also Joep Menke. They were the 2, and Birds of Mind. They created a real soundtrack. So real sound journey, and we have the breath retention, we become still, no? So it's a different song there as when we go dynamic in the breathing. The other, so we sit together, they do the session with me, they experience it, they feel it, then they choose tracks, and then they really do timings and create a whole soundtrack. It's a production work, it's a lot of work. Yeah, and then they also come sometimes to perform with me, but the performance is more being present and yeah. So the other method is like what I did with Britta Arnold in Kalita, is we choose the songs together. They also experience, they understand the cycles, but then they do it live with me. So I'm always counting down. Yeah, I can say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we're changing the breath and we're changing the music. So they DJ it live. Oh, it's not live set, but they're present when they DJ it, and listen to my guidance.
Yeah.
So different
it's a good
methods, yes.
Then obviously now we're in a really strange situation. I mean, both of you have a lot of online classes at the moment. Do you feel like you can achieve a similar, the similar height or outcome as you do normally in real life? I mean, I know I feel a difference, but there's definitely points of transformation. It's sometimes a little bit more difficult to get into sessions when they're on Zoom and when you're not in this extreme energy of other people actually under your guidance. How do you experience this, Sascha?
I mean, it's every journey is unique, so every time you do it, you experience something differently. And the same thing is like when you do it via Zoom, of course, when you feel the energy of the group coming together, the music is louder, so it can definitely trigger different points in you. But from the feedback I got is for people who also been to my live session now doing via Zoom, that they're getting the same benefits out of it. I also have to say that the format I'm using online is a bit different than I'm using. Like when I do a live session, it's like the whole thing is 2 hours, and like the online session is like an hour, because like breathing for a certain amount of time, it's just that I need to, if you breathe for an hour or longer, I need to be there personally to hold the space. With the format I'm using online, it's you breathe for 30 minutes. But the feedback I got is that it's for people who come to regular on the live sessions doing Zoom, it's also very beneficial for them. And on the other hand, it's like you can reach out to much more people who might be afraid of breathing with a group because they're like, okay, if I'm breathing too loud, if I start crying, it's okay to disturb the others. And now they're in their home, in their safe environment, so it can be really good feeling for them as well. So it's both things has their benefits and their
and there is a need just to keep organizing these sessions even in this time. Eva, do you have anything also like in your experience?
I have super great feedback actually. So in the beginning of the pandemic, I had like 150 people in the sessions, and then I also invented a membership. So there are people coming every week. Yeah, in a membership you get everything included, so they come every week. Amazing. And all my sessions are workshops. So this is 90 minutes in total. As with Sascha, my dynamic breath work is 40 minutes, 45 max. So the rest is spiritual topic, working with it. Sometimes we journal about it. So I'm really setting topics. So every time you come, you get the different input and impulse. So this makes people really thankful and attracted to the sessions, and the feedback is insane. As Sascha says, people go even deeper. And yes, I miss the touch. I go around with essential oils usually, with sage and Palo Santo. I miss that thing. But maybe like Sascha, I've had the feeling with him too when I went to his online session. When I teach it, I go in such an alpha brainwave, so I'm so in the flow. Like while I'm teaching it in front of my computer, I forget the time, the space. I'm like with them, and it works.
I've been super impressed by both of the online classes. So in terms of like wrapping it up, the Gardens of Babylon family, unfortunately, well, if they want to find you guys, they can find you online. We will share obviously your website so you can find the courses. When will you be back in our midst? I know you're joining the March retreats. We're still keeping our fingers crossed that you might be able to have it, because I know a lot of the students will be devastated if you're not going to be.
I have my teacher training. There's maybe also something to mention that people want to learn or become a teacher, but we'll see. Changing things right now. So.
We'll see how it flows.
But thanks for doing this. I think it was insane last time.
It was absolutely. We did the 3 days and both were there. And then the monastery, let's pray to God that it happens. So we see you there. So this year also with a way bigger spiritual village. Actually, we have an enormous space and program. So thank you to both Sascha and Eva, obviously, for always being amazing.